the past 2 years, most of us have had our lives disrupted in one way or another. Personally and professionally, we've all dealt with quite a bit. And during this time, I think we've started to see that we're shifting in the way that we may have perceived certain things in the past. As ambitious women, which I will venture to say we all are, we likely have always strived to be successful. But does that mean today what it meant years ago? So I would like to start today's conversation there. How has the definition of success evolved for each of you over the last 2 years? And Laura, I'd love to start with you on this one.
I think about my experience. I'm a mom of three. And throughout my career, I was juggling and struggling with managing kids and career. But that juggling or struggling, whichever way you want to look at it, was really my own adventure. And my manager had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. I had, my mom hat was coming off when I would show up at the office. And whenever I had something related to my family or my kids, I would do it quietly, hoping that nobody would have ever noticed. I think the pandemic has opened up kind of the Pandora's box of what's happening behind the scenes and saying, you know what, we are a whole. I bring my whole self to work, and I can't afford no longer to only show you front stage, but you've got full exposure to what's happening backstage, and I need help. There's more of a giving mindset and a larger scope in terms of how I'm thinking about success. And that's absolutely a result of the pandemic. And I hope it stays.
Right. We hope that continues.
I'm sure it will stay, actually.
That's fair. Deidre, over to you. Success. How has it evolved?
Yes, thanks, Janessa. My definition of success continues to evolve. Right now, success means that I'm healthy and happy and my kids are healthy and happy. I'm a divorced working mom with 3 kids, ages 16, 14, and 11. And success to me used to mean climbing that corporate ladder. And that's still my goal, but I'm approaching it entirely different today. These last 2 years have meant that I've been able to be home with them and to build my relationships with my kids that have been so important and critical for me. And what I've learned in that is that it's so important to share what you're doing broadly to encourage the younger women who are coming up behind you that yes, you can have a working role, you can travel, you can have kids, you can have a life. And like Laura said, you can juggle it all every day. And I often hear circus music in my head, but I do get it done. And with all that, success now means really just happy and being healthy.
I think the juggling analogy is one that many of us can definitely get behind. Jill, what about you? Success. How has it expanded a bit for you?
I just heard key themes around authenticity, vulnerability, being your real self at work. And to me, that is such a healthy new environment that we're working in. But, with all these changes that we've all experienced with the pandemic, being flexible and adaptable is critical. We've all had much more time for self-reflection and introspection. And to me, when you think about success today, to me, it's simple. It's really being happy with the desired outcome. We all have these outcomes, be it in business life, our professional life, our personal life, and thinking about those outcomes, but making sure that it's your outcome that brings you that happiness.
Be happy. I love that one. Keisha, how can we build on be happy? How success evolved for you?
So I'm in this place today where success is me checking in with me and then plugging in where I need to plug in, where I want to plug in, and not where everyone else has said, you need to do this, you're good at this, do that, but really stopping to check in with me and say, is that even what I want to do? So that is right. What success has been for me, is tapping inward to show up, which will then give people an opportunity to come as their full self. I need to be okay with being with me. And that's where I've been. And it's been a beautiful blessing.
So I want to shift gears a little bit from hearing about how you define success individually to hearing how your companies have shifted and how they're thinking about how they define success. So Jill, I'd love to start with you and hear a little bit about how FedEx is looking at this.
Janessa, thank you. It's exciting when I think about the last 2 years and what's happened. You look back and, our team members are essential workers. We're out there every single day delivering packages. And, I never thought that my mother, who is 87 years old, would be ordering things online, but she did. And even if those products were being wiped down and everything else in order for us to get groceries or food or toilet paper even, someone had to be out delivering that. And, I'm happy to say that FedEx did a big part in that, and we continue to do a big part. We delivered the very first vaccine in the United States, and we did that on December 14th, 2020, 5:14 a.m. in Boston, Massachusetts. It was such a moment to actually know that there was hope and that we were helping deliver that hope. And we continue to have to define success differently. We never thought that success would be delivering 7 days a week to homes and getting that online business to every single address as fast as possible around the world in 220 countries and territories to kind of keep the economy moving, to keep the supply chains going. And so, our definition of success, we had a great strategy in place. We did not anticipate COVID test kits and charters of personal protective equipment all over the world, or oxygen tanks that we were, taking into India. It's really been unprecedented. And that was in April of 2020. And to look back at that now and just think about where success is and how we build on that adaptability, the demand in the marketplace, and really just try to keep things moving.
I thank FedEx personally for all that it's done, but it's interesting to see how that evolution has happened and how FedEx workers are seen as essential workers, because they are. And we're grateful to them for that. Thank you for sharing that. Deirdre, let's talk about T. Rowe. How is T. Rowe looking at success, and how has that definition evolved at all?
Yes, thanks, Janessa. So T. Rowe Price is an asset management firm. That's all that we do. And we believe that people are our greatest asset, because this is a relationship business. So we thrive because our company culture is built on collaboration and diversity of backgrounds, perspectives, talents, and the experiences of our associates. And we currently have a multi-year intentional strategy where it's designed to grow and support our diverse workforce and to engage and develop our associates. And accountability is fundamental to our strategic pillars. So we're responsible for doing the right thing for our business and our clients and our colleagues. And I'm excited, really, that our vision is clear and our priorities are aligned and our direction is very focused.
Perfect. Thank you, Deirdre. I appreciate that. And I can relate. In the financial services industry, I think none of us would have seen all those years ago how we would be defining success now, right? It's not just the bottom line any longer. There's so many more expectations of our leaders and those that are really taking us forward. So no, I appreciate that for sure. I definitely can relate to that. Keisha, for you, definition expanding from a sort of your industry perspective.
Oh, the big thing I would say is allowing individuals to come as their full selves. And I'm seeing this across the board in so many organizations that I support, that people get to be them. They get to be all of who they are. You would have never seen someone's little one behind them saying hello in a meeting. I'm just popping up randomly, and it was okay. And over these last 2 years, it really has been an opportunity for people to show up as their full selves. And I think that's the big thing that I've gotten over these last 2 years, is to show up and allow people to do the same thing. And it's important. It is.
I actually find that it helps even with connectivity with colleagues, right? Just because we've all become these equal-sized boxes on a screen, and you get to see so much more of someone's life, right? And so you're just naturally interacting a bit more, which is great. Let's talk specifically retail beauty. How are you all thinking differently about success?
We have two women that founded Benefit at the core, and they really believe that they were not so much in the makeup business, but in the feel-good business. How do we make women, men, everybody feel good about themselves? I think where the focus was really important in the past year, I will say, is that new focus on mental health. Tangible examples of what we've changed at Benefit is we've changed our PTO policy to balance individual needs and the need of the community. So there are times when we are all off at the same time. All off at the same time, because what we've realized is when you're on PTO, on time off, but emails keep coming in and calls keep coming in, you're actually not really off. So last week of December, we actually put the entire corporation, the corporate team off. So building on that, what we've done is in 2022, we actually have established a mental health break of a week late May, where everybody's going to be off again.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And I want to build on a really important topic that you just touched on, Laura, and that's the topic of mental health. And, I personally consider it a success that we are increasingly accepting that it's okay to not be okay. And we're encouraging people to share this. So how are your companies just ensuring that you're putting your people first? And do you all have a specific role that you're playing in that? Maybe, Jill, you want to start us off there from a FedEx perspective?
I'm really proud that, our chairman and founder actually started with a tenet around people. And so when you're dealing in, countries across the world, you have so many different cultures you're needing to respect and needing to lean into and really understand those individual, people and what matters to them. We have a program that we call Fedex Cares. And I'm really proud of that program. It is a global program. We invest in giving back. It's been fantastic because when you actually give individuals the opportunity to sell a product and improve their income, they invest back in education. It lifts the whole community up. We still have many lockdowns around the world that we're dealing with in multiple countries. And so we have to continue to lean in and play a big part in that mental health. And a lot of it is giving back.
Deirdre, I'd love to hear from you a little bit. You are someone who has received a major award as, Working Mother of the Year, and there's a mental space piece of that that's involved as well. So talk to me about that, Working Mother of the Year. How does that happen? How does T. Rowe place importance on its people and the mental health of its people?
Yes, thanks, Janessa, and thanks for mentioning that. That was an honor I was very lucky to receive, very happy about it. But the way T. Rowe thinks about mental health is really they want to make sure all of our associates are taking care of their mental health. And we're really focused on preventing burnout because what we're recognizing is that during this virtual environment, people are actually working way longer hours than they used to because they can just continue to crank out the work virtually. I started doing triathlons many years ago, and I'm very, very focused on actually scheduling my workouts like they're a meeting to make sure that I can get them done. And personally, I'll take mental health days when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I will tell people I'm taking a day off because I need a mental health break. And I think you need to be vocal about that as well.
I agree, to let folks know that it's okay, right? It is okay to do what you need to do for yourself. And I could not agree with that more. Keisha, anything from your end? Mental health, how do we continue to place it at the top of the priority list?
I need to have that core group of people that I can pick up the phone, I can call, I can vent, I can say, here's what's happening on a team setting in my corporate space, but also in my personal business and in my everything that I do, mom group, entrepreneur group. We need to make sure that we're giving grace and space to people and know that everything isn't going to always be peaches and cream.
Grace and space. Absolutely love that, Keisha. Absolutely love that. And I think at AB, very similarly to many of your organizations, we offered wellness days during the summer where folks would get one Monday or one Friday off. We created a grief library because we had to accept the fact that people were dealing with all kinds of grief, all kinds of loss, right? In some cases, the worst kind, loss of life, loss of connectivity, whatever it may be. And then we gave them access to platforms like Talkspace and the Calm app and provided those for free because there is still a stigma that relates to mental health. So diversity, equity, and inclusion, all topics that were really thrust into the spotlight really over the last few years. And I think we're now at the point where we know that there is a direct link between diversity, inclusion, and profitability. And the data shows that companies that have diverse teams do outperform and they are better places to work. Your companies have long been advocates of DEI, right? This is nothing new to your firms. But how do you continue to measure and ensure that that material, measurable progress occurs?
As an organization and as a business owner as well, the big thing for me is thinking of how we get to this table. But when we're at the table and we see people that aren't at the table, that should be at the table, diversity, it's up to us in our influence to say, okay, I know somebody that I can bring to the table. So as organizations, when we think of it, think of the table, and at the table we get to break bread. But at that table, is there something for vegans, for someone who's non-dairy, for someone, all those different pieces? If we build all of those things at that table and prepare that plate, people will feel a sense of appreciation. But if I don't drink dairy and I show up and all you have is everything that's filled with dairy, I won't stay. It's just how it is. And I need organizations to think from that perspective. What is the action? Who are you building up within the organization?
So Keisha, could not agree with you more. I live and breathe the D&I space, and so everything you said resonates with me. And I'd like to get Jill in the conversation here. Jill, please, your reactions to that, and please tell me how you feel about it at FedEx.
I couldn't be prouder of some of the work that we really do to go out, and now we're going down into middle school, but into high schools and lead pathways and really support HCBUs and other purposeful areas where we can actually recruit. And then once we've recruited, back to Keisha's point, you have to show them the love when they come in the door, right? And we've got to give that growth and learning. We've got to develop team members. And so purposefully managing, coaching, it only takes one person to be inclusive and to open the door to someone else. And we should all take some ownership in that. And to your point too, Janessa, on making sure that you have people moving up through the C-suite in the organization, that should be also done purposefully, right? We should be intentional and doing the training, the development to get those pipelines moving.
Intentionality is the other I, as I say, when we talk about DEI. And Laura, talk to us about it from the feel-good business perspective. How are you thinking about the measurable impact?
We started with a survey with our own employees and said, how's your experience and benefit? And from there, we learned that actually the experience wasn't the same for everyone. So we've started with creating ERGs, which, we have 8 of them now, really with the goal of opening voices, educating, building awareness, and recognizing, all these different communities are a part of the greater benefit. We also hired a dedicated person to lead the DEI work and hold everybody accountable, but also help them form plans, whether it's bottoms up or tops down, both of them. There's a tremendous commitment at the very highest place in the organization, which is, I think, critical to success. So we have a concrete goal of saying we want 30% of our leadership to be represented of communities that are typically underrepresented or today underrepresented in our organization. Then thinking about product, our product assortment is obviously something that we look at very carefully and may not have made the commitments that we should have in the past, but also we're looking at our vendors, like who do we work with as an organization? And again, it's a long journey. It has started, we are well underway, and we'll continue to listen to our employees and our clients as to how can we do better. So it's a very, very exciting progress.
Kudos to you and kudos to Benefit. It sends a message. It's a signal to people. I belong here. Benefit is thinking about me because I can see something that I can relate to here. And so Deirdre, talk to us about the financial services industry, right? Which can be its own animal at times. And so how are we maintaining the impact?
DE&I is definitely very important to Rowe Price. We are also intentional about sourcing and engaging talent that brings new perspectives and strengthens our outcomes. And we're executing on a strategy focused on underrepresented minorities. One of the things about DE&I is it's a business imperative. Like people said, it's important to have people around the table that looks like the business or the communities that they're serving. We truly believe that. And what we're finding is that our clients are actually demanding it. We've had an excellent DE&I group for more than 15 years, and we've been executing on this strategy. And one of the things that we've done recently, in 2020, we established a Black Leadership Council, which we call the BLC, of which I'm a member, and is comprised of our senior Black executives. We advise our management committee, we mentor and support the engagement with our Black associates, and we provide guidance on community outreach and advocacy issues. Most importantly, I'm excited that we're actually walking the walk. 55% of our board members are diverse, 44% of our global associates are women, and almost 30% of our U.S. associates are ethnically diverse. So we're not perfect. We still have some work to do, but we are well on our journey.
And so there's a lot of intentional work done by a lot of really smart people that go into getting this done. And so kudos to you for that. And one of the things that we say here at AB is, for D&I to really be successful, it has to sit on everyone's desk. And so what we've done with some of our senior leaders, really understanding that a lot of this does come from the top, right? The tone is set at the top, is really establishing formal scorecards for them, where the idea there is where they're going to have culture and D&I be an explicit assessment point. Now, I want to shift gears completely here because I'm clearly looking at a group of superhero women. I'd love to hear a little about, what do you consider your superpower? Or is there a superpower that maybe you've developed and surprised yourself with over the last 2 years? So Laura, talk to us about the Laura superpower.
I moved from Europe to the United States 20 plus 2 years ago. And when I think you change cultures, you have to kind of put that extra mile to connect. I was hired at Benefit in September of 2020. I oversee the Americas, so Canada, US, Mexico, Brazil, Peru, Chile, and Colombia. In the 18 months I've been in my job, I have been able to meet nobody for the first year. No one, physically. Even in San Francisco, where I'm based, I didn't meet anyone on the team. So for over a year, it was only Zoom. And how do you convey who you are? How do you build trust? How do you build a connection with no ability to actually shake hands, look at each other in the eyes? And to this date, I still have 4 countries that I have not visited, and it's I'm coming up to my 18 months of work. So I think that energy, that spark, that joy, that curiosity for each other has gone miles for me and for the team in building a team that is vulnerable, that is honest, that shares, what we see as an opportunity, what we see as a challenge.
I love that. Uplifting energy. What is the Keisha superpower?
It's easy for me to include people. It's easy for me to invite people. It's easy for me to build the relationship. Thinking about my superpowers, and I wrote the book Networking Into Your Superpower because I see often in corporate spaces, people work side by side every day and they don't know each other. So for me, that is a huge miss for organizations. We need to connect, and people show up and they relate to us when there's a relationship. That retention stays when there's a relationship. People are more prone to tell you what's happening when there's a relationship.
That relationship means trust. It means I trust you in some way. And I could not agree with you more. It's very, very true. Deirdre, over to you.
Janessa, I absolutely love this question. I think my superpower is the ability to shapeshift. So I'm pretty flexible and adaptable. And as a salesperson, I have to know when to shift my style and approach, because in asset management, nothing is one size fits all. Most of my work is spent customizing solutions for my clients. And it's interesting when I think about it. I'm the youngest of 4 girls, and they're all much older than me. So I had to shapeshift then to be friends with my sisters.
That's awesome. That's great. Jill, please round us out here. Superpower. What does your cape say?
I'm going to say mine is being hyper focused. My son tells me that I slow down time so I can take it all in, because he has no idea how I can adapt and harness energy and stamina to prioritize to get done everything that has to be accomplished. He actually calls it multitasking. I mean, from my perspective, we're all very busy, and it does take prioritization and hyper focus. I guess we do have to slow down time in our own realms and understand, which thing is the most important. And I've heard here, it's a balance. So, Janessa, superpower, hyper focus, slowing down time.
I think mine is the ability to remove the fear factor. And what I mean by that is, in the D&I world, a lot of the topics that we talk about cause a lot of fear for a lot of people. And so I've always said I want whether it's my office, my space, my team, to be the place where you can remove that fear factor, where you can ask that question. Janessa, should I say Black or African American? What does the Q in LGBTQ stand for? And Keisha, I want to build a little bit, because I'd say personally that one of your superpowers is reinvention. And during severe economic downturns, women often have to reinvent themselves, whether by force or by choice. What advice would you give women who are in the process of reinventing themselves?
Saying yes to all of the things that I want to do today has really helped me in my business. I say yes. And with that fear thing, Janessa, it really set well with my spirit because I say no and make it a complete sentence, but I say yes when I need to say yes. And I don't need all the details. Stand in your gifts and really build that legacy in your gifting.
Anything else for the woman who is watching this, thinking about what is the next? What is the next? How do I reinvent? How do I pivot? Any pieces of advice there?
I would add one, which is dream big. Nothing is big enough. And in a pandemic, a huge transformation like what's happening to the culture right now opens up tremendous opportunity if you give yourself permission to go after them. For those of us that decide to have children, there's a whole life after the children have left the nest and go on their own. And there's plenty of time to build a ton of things that you wish you'd done years before. And what I want to say is there's tons of hope and tons of bright days. So keep it up because it's really worth it.
That's great.
I love it. That's all really good advice. If I can just add on top of that, you have to ask for what you want, ask for that promotion, ask for that raise, ask how you make it to the next rung of the ladder, ask for a mentor, ask for a leadership program, ask for whatever you want that's going to make you happy or to get you to the next stage of your career.
I find that, as women, it's really important that, we help each other as well. And, when you have that opportunity and someone reaches out and wants to have a conversation or is in that moment of meltdown, making sure that we are giving back to each other as well. And I just, when you think about asking and you think about, putting yourself out there, making sure that, you might not have all the qualifications that are in that write-up, but you know what? You got enough of them that you can go for it, right? So how do we help encourage each other? And I just think that's a really important part of it as well.
And I think, Deirdre, your point about asking for what you want, I think another part of that 100% is then be your own PR person, right? To your point, you have to know what you want, ask for what you want, and then you have to be able to sort of amplify your story, tell your story, make sure people know what you're doing and not see it as bragging, not see it as a negative thing. It's more you just amplifying yourself and really syndicating your brand in a really important way. Dress for Success is celebrating its 25-year anniversary this year, and a lot has changed in 2.5 decades. And we talked a lot about how the definition of success has evolved. Where do you think Dress for Success can really lean in?
I think where the most pressing for me is to help women go back to work. One of the things that we've done, we're doing at Benefit, we'll continue to do in partnership with Dress for Success is we've established Bold is Beautiful, which is a charitable giving program. Every year in August, we donate the proceeds of our brow services to organizations, communities that support women and girls, the empowerment of women and girls. And over the course of these 6 years, we've been able to donate over $25 million. And I'm so proud to say that Dress for Success has been a founding partner for this in being able to bring true and tangible support to women and girls. So, all these efforts that we are all making as organizations to support independent women and bring them resources above and beyond like being ready for an interview, but also giving them the tools to be successful in their endeavors is so critical.
That's perfect, Laura. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I'll add on. FedEx has worked closely with Dress for Success for years. And, I think Laura really hit the nail on the head. And so we're implementing for our professional workforce what we call Purple Flex, which is allowing a lot of flexibility in the workplace for all of our employees. But certainly it does benefit working mothers where they can actually play with their hours, play with the days of the week. We've worked in our Women in Leadership, ESGs, our Global Women Foundations and Leadership Conferences. Dress for Success has been right by our side. And it's, I think leaning into the resources available and making sure that we bring that forward is important. And I would be crazy if I didn't mention equal pay is also important, that we should certainly continue to strive for equal pay for equal work.
You took the words right out of my mouth, actually. If I can just add on top of that. So Organizations like Dress for Success are key in addressing the multitude of challenges women have faced over the past decades and helping them cultivate their best selves. Throughout my 20 years of my financial career, there really haven't been a lot of women in the room with me. I've always said if you can see it, you can be it. But frankly, it's been hard for me to see what success could look like because I didn't have a lot of women that actually looked like me. And what's most pressing? Definitely equal pay. Really agree with that, but also equal representation of women in leadership roles and the boardroom.
As a mother going through Dress for Success, and it's been over 10 years now, one of the things that I think about is the classes and the development and all the resources that were at my fingertips so that I could build skills, so that I could think about becoming an entrepreneur, so that I could think about buying a home, that financial literacy. My daughters, they're coming along with me. They see the same things. There was so many resources that were prepared and set up for us. All we needed to do was say yes to us, say yes to success. And as you think about that mom, you bring mom, but then those kids will come, that husband will come, and we get to sustain that entire community. You're not just sustaining that household, you're starting to sustain a society now. And that's exactly the work that Dress has done in our lives as a family. It's been a game changer completely.
And, a lot of the research will show that the last 2 years will likely set the progress we've made as it relates to women back decades. And what makes me have any glimmer of hope is that there is an organization like Dress for Success that has been doing this work for decades and that has been on the front lines and will continue to be on the front lines to do exactly as you all have said, empowering women individually, but families and communities as well, because that's where the real change happens. So I think you all have absolutely nailed it. And I have to give a personal thank you to you now, my new personal group of super women, also known as Laura, Jill, Deidre, and Keisha. This conversation has been so uplifting. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate this. This is exactly the conversation we need to continue to do the work. So thank you all very much.